You're still watching the City of Lagos TV show on TV Nigeria. Welcome to Lagos Agencies in Focus. Of course, this is a platform that enables us to confirm, ascertain, and of course, establish facts about existing strategic agencies in Lagos. And of course, to also find out how the agencies, in terms of their set objectives, are living up to the expectations of the Themes Plus agenda of Governor Babajide Olusola Sanwo-Olu. And straight to our focus today, we all know that the business of governance, especially in Africa's largest growing economy, the fastest growing commercial city center, and of course, a very strategic sub-national with ever-growing population, is never complete without a well-coordinated security architecture, a strategic master plan to provide the expected requirements for a safe and secure Lagos. There is one agency saddled with this responsibility. And of course, we were talking about the Lagos State Security Trust Fund, and our guest today is the Executive Secretary, Chief Executive Officer of the agency, Honorable Dr. Abdulrazak Balogun. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you very much.
It's a pleasure to have you on the program.
Thank you. Pleasure's mine.
First and foremost, let's get to know you, because this is a very strategic agency, and it will be quite important to have a brief profile of your personality and professional background.
Well, I've been in the public service for the last 2.5 decades. I was an elected member of the House of Assembly for 12 years, where I held the position of the Chief Whip of the House. And after I left the House, I became the Executive Secretary here. My educational background, I'm a medical doctor by profession with distinction. I also hold various master's degrees in public health, public admin, and MBA. And I practiced medicine for a while, and then I went into public service.
Now, can you tell us what is the mandate, the vision and mission statement, and of course the key functions of the Lagos State Security Trust Fund, and how has the agency lived up to the Themes Plus agenda of Mr. Governor?
Our mandate generally is just to provide an enabling environment and support for general security of the state, to make the state very secure and very prosperous. We must understand the fact that we are an interventionist agency. We are not security agencies here. So the everyday security function is not under our purview here. Ours is just to see to aiding and supporting our security agencies for general security of the state. And that brings us to, our vision of making Lagos the safest, most prosperous commercial destination in Africa. And we know that Lagos holds a very strategic position in Africa. I think we're about maybe the 5th largest economy in Africa as a subnational after various countries. And our mission is very simple. It's just facilitating safety and security in the state, because the background must be known that security aspects of our country is under the exclusive list of our constitution. In other words, it is the exclusive purview of the federal government. But Lagos, being a very innovative state, a state that is always first, among equals, we developed a strategy to see how we can support our security agencies, because we truly understand the nexus between security and a very prosperous state. And so without that, we know that we cannot have these various developments that we have been enjoying in Lagos State and the prosperity that Lagos has been known for. And so with the themes agenda, without security is the bedrock of the entire themes agenda. I talk about transportation. If you build rail lines and people don't feel safe entering that rail line, it is an effort in futility. If you're talking about education, if our kids cannot go to school and come back home safely, then what is the essence of the education? We're talking about tourism and culture. No culture, no tourism will thrive without a very secure environment. People want to come into Lagos, as we saw in every year during the Yuletide season. Last December was one of it that they tagged Dirty December. We knew how electric and electrifying Lagos was. It is because of that perception of a robust safety and security in the state. So essentially, I'll call this a very ingenious organization that was created as a child of circumstance in 2007, because at that time, the political terrain of the country was also not even in the favor of Lagos State. Lagos State was probably the only state in opposition at that time. So we knew that we had to support and do something to ensure that the state continues to prosper. And also, you know that Lagos holds a very strategic position in Nigeria. Everybody coming to Nigeria, the first port of call will be Lagos State. And so it is essential and important for us to keep it safe and prosperous.
When you're looking at an agency of this nature and considering your set objectives, it is very expedient to find out your strategic master plan, especially with regards to funding through public-private partnership arrangement in order to make Lagos safer and secure.
Yeah, that's one of the most important bedrock of this organization, to provide funding for our agencies in the state. We have a model that was created in 2007 when this organization was created. Amongst other things, the main source of funding is voluntary donations by corporations and individuals. But over the years, the population, the change in crime rates, the expectations of various agencies of government because of our accessibility and the fact that we are quick to respond to needs of our agencies because we are devoid of the normal government bureaucratic tendencies and all that. So we've had a lot more agencies also that have been created by the state government also to harness and also to support the entire security architecture in the state. So funding is a very, very big issue. And for us, the model we're running at the moment is no longer sustainable. You can't have a system that requires maybe excess of, say, 50 billion naira per annum, and you're getting trickles of less than $1 billion a year. That is very dismal. And so we're working on a process or a way that we can look for other means of sustenance. And there are so many means of sustenance in Lagos State. There's so many means of getting revenue and funding in Lagos State. I'll give you an example. I was looking at a ticket yesterday, an air ticket, and I looked at the fare and also the surcharges. And I saw that, for instance, did you know that if you're buying an international ticket in Nigeria, you're paying what they call a security surcharge, which is about 30,000, 40,000 per passenger. If you do the math for just 1 million passenger, which is more than that, flying through our airports, that's over 4 billion naira. That's a source of revenue. You can imagine that, okay, well, that's a federal government agency, but there are also other means that we also can get revenues from individuals and corporations. So I'm looking forward to a time that would amend our legislation to make security or to create a levy on security in the state.
Is it on corporate organizations?
On every single individual that resides in the state. And you see, we have the population of over 23, 24 million people. And so people may think about it from the perspective of, this usual thing we always hear about taxes. But the truth of the matter is that if you want to enjoy a world-class city, and you want to sleep with your 2 eyes closed, something must happen. And there's no way in the world anyways that these things are free. Yes, there are social responsibilities of government, but government also has a way of sourcing resources. Because do not forget that one of the primary responsibilities of Lagos State government is still there. You have to provide education, you have to provide roads, goods and services are also there, healthcare is there. And so you cannot take the state government's resources to fund security wholly. It's not possible. The government cannot even afford it. If we took all the annual budgets of Lagos State and dump it into security aspect, it's not enough because it's a recurring and very, very expensive venture. And by the way, there are also so many innovations now all across the world that we can deploy. And you also know that all these things are imported and they're foreign exchange based. So goods and services have gone up. So we see the future that we must introduce something very subtle, something that will not affect you and I. If you go into a hotel now, all over the world, in America, in Dubai, everywhere, there are some little prints that you don't see for essential services, ambulance services, fire services. Somebody is paying for those services. They may be very dismal, very negligible, but it adds up. For a 23 million population, if we had, for instance, 1,000 naira per 23 million people, that's 23 billion. That's a lot of money. All right? So it tells you that it is doable and we need it to sustain this momentum that we have been sustaining in Lagos.
Is that the strategic master plan in the pipeline? Is this something you're tinkering?
Personally, it's been something that I've been tinkering with. But again, it's not in my place to make it happen because we have to go through the parliament. The governor has to approve that. ESCO probably has to approve that, and then we take it to parliament, or for them to approve that. So it's a process. But I feel that for us to sustain this momentum, we have to find a way to get resources that will be sustainable, that will be constant. We cannot continue to rely upon the goodwill of individuals and corporations who have the prerogative not to do it. And we've been seeing that a lot. And by the way, if you donate, for instance, when we started in 2007, and corporations donated 50 million naira, Hilux was just 3 million naira at that time. So we could buy close to about 15 Hilux with 50 million naira. But today, in 2025, 50 million will not buy a Hilux. So it tells you that we need a better way of funding to sustain the security architecture of the state.
The security outfits, the police and other paramilitary organizations already get their funding, right?
Supposedly.
What the agency is doing is to also complement, to boost the effectiveness.
Yes.
So what is that level of synergy and collaboration? Are you getting all the necessary?
Yeah, based on the question you asked me, of course they have budgetary allocations. Obviously, it's not adequate. And like I said, for us to sustain Lagos State, we have to do our own thing, our own way. And that's why it's important that we continue to support them. And for the synergy, it has been very fantastic. When we set out to create this agency at that time, and incidentally, this was a legislation that I was part of as a member of the House. And this was the first legislation of Governor Fashola at that time. Most legislations like this, or most agencies like this, are usually sunset. What we call sunset in Parliament is that it works for a while, and after a while, it fizzles out because there's no need for it anymore. But 17 years down the line, there's still a need for it. A lot of government agencies all across the country have come here to look at our model and replicate in their states. It tells you that it is still very, very necessary. I think this is the 9th police commissioner I'm working with since I got on this seat. And we've had a very fantastic relationship, even with the military, with the other armed forces and all that of the Lagos Neighborhood Safety Corps, because we never claim to want to take over anybody's function. And I think for what we do for them, they are, very grateful. And also the fact that the governor, as the head of the Security Council and also as governor of the state, there is also this constant interaction and engagement between the security agencies and also my agency. And so we've had a very good symbiotic relationship with all of them.
Since you came on board, can you tell us your achievements, innovative initiatives, and success story?
Without this organization, I don't know where I would be in Lagos State. I liken this organization to cameramen, producers that people don't see. And so all they see is the Nigerian police and all of them in front. But we are the back end, running around doing a lot of this stuff. So for us, we've achieved a lot of milestones here. We have a very robust system, security network system in the state, that makes Lagos quite impenetrable. We've had a system where we are a very, very accountable organization. I dare say that. This is an organization that every 1 naira spent or donated is accounted for transparently. And that also brings a lot of confidence over the years. If you look at the security network in Lagos State, over 17 years, there's a lot of political rallies going on across the state. You need to go to those places to see the amount of deployment of equipment, of personnel, and the way and manner they conduct themselves. That's very important to us here, because training is a very, very critical aspect of our function there. And we do it periodically, and we also make sure that the earmarks are there. Also, over the years, I dare say of any agency of government that you can have assets that are as old as 12, 13, 14 years. We maintain our assets as at when due. We also ensure that we replace them when we can. And that's not the only thing. If you ask members of RRS, the Rapid Response Squad that are directly beneficiary of this organization solely, everybody talks about the vehicles. That is the list of what we do here. I mean, how do you send a man out to go and police you without kitting the person well, without boosting their morale, without ensuring that if they die in the line of duty, they are compensated, which we've instituted that again in the state. So when you see them in terms of their uniforms, their accoutrements, and those little things. So right now we are expecting to also distribute sets of raincoats and rain boots to our men. So there's a lot we are doing to boost their morale. And I think as we're doing all that, they are also reciprocating by ensuring that Lagos continues to remain safe. So I think we've accomplished a lot. There's still a lot of work to be done. Like I said, we are not a security agency. And so the responsibility of keeping peace and law and order is on the police and all other agencies. We are just a supporting system, and we continue to do that, and we have also done that quite effectively.
Let's look at the angle of monitoring, because as much as you give out vehicles and equipment, there is a tendency for mismanagement.
Of course.
And so that means there must be some level of maintenance culture. Do you have any mechanism in place? Monitoring, make sure?
Our mechanism is very robust. I dare say that if you want any record from inception of this organization till date, we have all the records of equipments we have given out, equipments that are obsolete, equipments that have been taken out of the fleet, how they're managed by credible vendors and who we have hired by very competitive means, who give us reports of their maintenance and their repairs. That is very, very important to us. Again, we have such a system that, every asset that we give our agencies, even when they are old, they cannot even dispose of it without recourse to us. That's how much we monitor and ensure that our assets are in good shape. And by the way, most of these assets that we extend to these folks, they cannot even be taken out of Lagos. For instance, RRS now, you can never find RRS in Ogun State. The only way you find them is when Ogun State calls for an intervention or support from us, maybe through the long bridge, when there are issues around that area. I also have other systems that I cannot say on TV that we use to monitor them. But like I said, over the years, because of the kind of commanders and the headships of those places, they have also been very, very disciplined and very, very upright officers manning these places.
All right, thank you very much. Now, it's very critical to engage occasionally or periodically community leaders, traditional rulers, local government chairmen, and Lagosians. So is there any forum?
Yes, we try as much as possible. People will say that we should be more out there and all that, but we also run a kind of corporate setting here because most of our board of trustees are also from the corporate world. And so there are people who are very accomplished. The way we decimate our information, we have a very robust website. We have different medium that we use to decimate our information. But what we do most importantly is an annual town hall meeting. We hold a very robust annual town hall meeting that is hosted by the governor. And since I got here and since the inception of this organization, no governor has delegated that duty. They've always been there for the last 17 years. And what that does is that we bring all people from the different walks of life. They will come into an arena. Police commissioner will speak about what he has done for the year. The governor will speak about his security plans and all that. We'll ask questions and answers. We'll render our stewardship and generally render our accounts to the Kobo transparently. And I think over the years, we've always had a very good attendance. And generally speaking, people are always, they commend us so highly because they see it openly and they see that. They also see, most importantly, how prudent this organization is. So we interact with people and I also personally with my team pay courtesy calls to some of our very important donors to thank them, to also intimate them of what we have been doing. And so we're doing that by our own little way of ensuring that we get out there.
In terms of human capacity building, what effort are you making to increase your level of exposure, experience for effectiveness?
When we came on board, there was no such thing here because everybody was trying to just, build this organization and channel all resources there. But I felt that from my experience over time that you must build capacity, you must train people. And so in my staffs, we go for annual retreat, and also they are also open to bring forward anything that can enhance their capacity. We have just 8 staffers here doing work of maybe 30 people, and their compensation is not anything too great. They're making sacrifices, including myself, to make sure that we do a lot more for the state and also the agencies that we're supporting, and to ensure that all these monies that we get are channeled towards good means and all that. So capacity building is very, very important to me. And like I said, all our security agencies too, particularly the IRS, we also have earmarks for them to bring forward any training course or anything that can also enhance their capacity. One of the most important messages that we pass to them is that under a democratic dispensation, they have to be civil. They must understand that their salaries and their emoluments are paid from taxpayers' money. So they must treat people with utmost respect. And I think when people talk about the IRS, they liken them to exclusive kind of force because of the constant training and retraining that we offer them.
It's been a pleasure having you on the program.
Thank you very
much.
It's
been quite expository and listening to the great efforts and initiatives of the Lagos State Security Trust Fund. Now, what are the challenges? There are definitely challenges.
Since I got on this seat, I really don't see much challenges apart from the normal Nigerian issues, normal day-to-day issues that we face every day. I have men and women in the police force who, for me, in my view, they need to get better rewards. People cannot be putting down their lives for us and they're not well compensated. People cannot be bearing arms without ensuring that their welfare is solid. I mean, I'm very concerned about their welfare, particularly their accommodation. It's very important that, people that are going to secure our lives must also have a certain level of peace and tranquility around them. I'm very, very also particular about their health care.
So not just about giving them equipment.
No, we have an ambulance service with IRS, 2 ambulances where we have medical personnel there. They check their blood pressure, their vitals on a daily basis. From there, we have seen a lot of them carrying very, very massive blood pressure that if they weren't detected, they will just drop dead and go because of the amount of hours they put into this thing. So for me, these are some of the things that are of great concern to me. Do I have control over them? No. I'm not in the police force. I'm not their hierarchy. I'm not the people that dictate whatever they do. But again, I also know that by interaction, they are also trying their best in various ways to probably ameliorate some of these problems. I just wish that I had a lot of resources. We have about 9,900 and something roads in Lagos State. My dream is to have a kind of response time of less than 5 minutes, that you can call the police on a number and they're there. I also wish that we could have modern equipment. All over the world now, it's not everywhere you see boots on ground. You think somebody's not seeing you. You're looking up the sky, you're seeing something like a balloon there. There's a camera watching you. There's so many things that are out there now. There's artificial intelligence now that you can deploy. But again, these things cost money. And so I wish that, again, there's nowhere in the world where you have a mega city like Lagos and you will not be prepared for riots or unrest. We need equipment to be able to curtail these things that would be very seamless, that will not cause any bodily harm to any protester, but again, secure our citizens. These are very, very important things that we also require for our security forces. But by and large, in our country, I think Lagos is still attested to be the safest destination or state in this country. And considering the population, considering the amount of commerce going on there, the land borders are here, the international airports are here, the railway stations are here, a lot of people trooping in every day and all that. So it is a very, very huge burden that we carry. And yet the government of the state also has to provide amenities for the people.
What are you doing about data?
We have explored it so many, many times. We believe strongly that data is very, very important. But you see, Again, when you talk about data, once a data is distorted, it has messed up all the entire data. And so we must rebuild the confidence of citizens and the police, because a lot of things are happening in this country or in our state that people are not reporting. Again, for reasons best known to them, but we're also Nigerians, we also know the reasons why some of these things are not there. Again, data is such that we have a lot of agencies of government. The immigration is there, NNPC is there, the banks are there on BVN. Can't we just marry all this data together and give access to agencies of government to be able to access these things? So all this, and you can see that a lot of people are having a lot of apathy when it comes to issues of data, because again, people are also very skeptical. What are you doing with all this data that you're collecting? So it's very important that we have a kind of system where agencies of government, particularly the police, can key into those data and have a general identification system that once you're born, like the social security numbers, once you're born, you have this number that will enable us to be able to plan for the future, that will enable us to build infrastructure. So I think data is something that we've always looked into. We've had a lot of seminars on it. I've attended so many. We also did a very robust security summit in the States where we dedicated a whole day on data gathering and data information and informatics and all that. But again, like I said, the implementation is not in the hands of this organization.
Thank you very much. That's fantastic. So, how will you describe the support of Mr. Governor to the agency?
In one word, Mr. Governor has been very fantastic, quite dependable and reliable. And it's been like that with all successive governors. They understand the fact that they hold a very, very strong role in ensuring that this agency keeps moving, because they help to reach out to potential donors to access resources. And they've always been very supportive. And what's most important, again, is the fact that this agency runs a very free hand. There's no interference in our activities. Also, the Security Council that I sit on with the governor as the chairman and other members of the Security Committee also avails us that opportunity to interact from time to time. And that synergy has also helped a lot in ensuring a very secure state.
It is quite expedient to create that public network, with the internet. So what are your social media handles?
lsstf.lagostate.gov.ng. That's our website. Our Twitter is @follow LSSTF. Instagram @follow LSSTF. And then our Facebook is just Lagos State Security Trust Fund. All the banks in Lagos State, in the country, we have accounts with them. So our accounts are there in the public space. And donating money is the easiest thing. Putting in money into the bank account is the easiest thing to do. Is bringing it out as a problem. So we're all over all the banks. We've also tried to also look at influencers. From my position here, I've come to realize that I don't want to say misplaced priorities in our country, but I've seen a lot where you're rendering this kind of service for the entire population. All the musicians that cash out at concerts without a very, very secure environment, people will not come for their concerts. But so you call them to, hey, can you say something about this organization? Can you influence the amount of your followers that you have? They'll give you some very, very high bills that you cannot even speak about. And so you ask yourself.
They just need to give back something.
Exactly. And by just their voice, it speaks a lot. But certainly we cannot afford that payment. We cannot afford even the least of them. But we're saying that they have the power of their voice to propagate this organization, to be able to assist and get more donations into the fund.
Thank you very much, the Executive Secretary, CEO of the Lagos State Security Trust Fund.
Thank you.
So what are the future plans? Of course, moving forward, policy direction and initiatives?
We want to invest more in technology. We want to engage more with the public and be out there, let people know what we do, let people have a buy-in into what we do. We want to, we're looking forward to a time in this state where we'll have our own state police, because we are ripe enough for it. We have funded federal police for a very long time. It's about time we did ours now. And we believe that we'll have a more secure state if we have a complement of the state police and the federal police. I think Lagos is ripe for it. As a matter of fact, we say that you can start the pilot scheme from Lagos. Let's see how it runs. And you'll see that from there you can now move to other parts of the country. So that's what we see in the future, because all crimes are local. And so you can't bring a man from Maiduguri to come and police somebody in Etiosa. It's not going to work. And you cannot also take somebody from Lagos and take him to Maiduguri who doesn't know the culture and traditions of the people that is policing. So these are the issues that we envisage that over time, parliamentarians at the national level will look at these things critically, and at some point, Lagos State will get there.
So on a final note, word of encouragement, appreciation, assurance to your stakeholders, partners, and Lagosians.
To thank our donors, some of them for their consistency over the years. Some of them have been pretty much consistent. I just want to thank them for their support. And by supporting the trust fund, they're also supporting themselves. And we want to also let them know that we will continue to try our best. And we assure them that every resources donated to the trust fund will be judiciously applied and spent.
Do you by chance get any international donors?
No, we have never gotten any international donors.
You're not making any attempt?
No, we try to, because I know that we reach out to some embassies in the States, American embassy, German embassy, British embassy, Italian, to even see how we can, collaborate, maybe by way of training or by way of even the equipments. There's so many equipments in the Western world that, they try to give out to other parts of the world. And some of these equipments are also very, very standard equipments.
Honorable Dr. Abdulrazak Balogun, thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
For the opportunity to speak with you. Interestingly, you're doing a very fantastic job.
Thank you.
And like you said, you need all the support you can to make Lagos safe and secure. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Well, it's been a wonderful time speaking with the Executive Secretary of the Lagos State Security Trust Fund on Lagos agencies in focus. It's been quite expository, very educative and informative, telling us the various strategies, efforts, and initiatives to position this agency. And to put it simply, Lagos as a subnational with the ever-growing population requires a very dynamic and pragmatic agency like the Lagos State Security Trust Fund. And that's it on Lagos Agencies in Focus. Thanks for watching.